Call the meeting to order. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Vicki. There'll be no agenda adjustments this evening. Do you have anybody for public comment? No, seeing none, hearing none, move on to the next, which would be student advisory. Joe Ercolini.
Hello again. So, NHS is currently running 2 community service projects. Operation Happy Birthday, which is NHS makes birthday cake donation gifts, because especially birthdays, that's not something you think of a homeless family would like, but it makes someone's day. And Caps for Vets, which is one of our new community service projects that we have running, is actually collecting clear and white bottle caps for vets that make prosthetic limbs if they see them. It's a really cool idea Ms. Bateman thought of, and it's going really well. I think we've already collected almost like 2 buckets, so see how much more we get. For skills USA South chapter, South Shore Half chapter, is attending the Fall State Leadership Conference this weekend in Marlboro. Their food drive is also still ongoing, and the Skills USA Comedy Show is booked for February 4th at Venus and Hampton. For FFA, their tree sale starts on Saturday, November 26th from 10 to 2. And on the athletic side, varsity football is in the playoffs this Thursday at 6 versus Blue Hills at home. The Thanksgiving game is at Wednesday at 5 versus Holbrook, and it's also the senior night. And at halftime, there'll be acknowledgments and honoring the 2002 Super Bowl champs. For the other side of sports, we have boys soccer finished second in the league and had 3 All-Stars: Joanna Roard, Gavin McBarish, and Zach Cuddy. Girls soccer had 2 All-Stars: Alexis Vistolopoulos and Maddie Sullivan. Girls volleyball won the league, and the MVP for the league was Gemma Geisler. Had 3 All-Stars: Gemma Geisler, Mia Bradshaw, and Hannah Noda. And Caitlin Wallace received Coach of the Year, as well as the team winning a sportsmanship award. And for student council, the Powerpuff game will be this Friday, 11/18. Pep rally is scheduled to be on the 23rd. We were planning a toy drive after Thanksgiving, and we do our normal candygram go from November 28th to December 20th. And that is all for the agenda. Also, for NHS, I forgot to add, we also inducted 10 new members in the NHS during our ceremony. There were 2 seniors and 8 juniors. Another huge group that we brought in.
Very good, very good. Thank you, Joe. This time I'll ask, anybody have any questions or amendments to the motions for the minutes of the October meeting? I make a motion to discuss them as they are. Okay. Second. Motion Situate, second Normal. All those in favor?
Aye.
As unanimous vote. Treasurer's reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the cover of this month's report, we have some pictures from the open house flyers that went out on this Saturday, October 22nd. And a picture of Dr. Hickey with the Governor Baker and Mrs. Toledo, Lieutenant Governor Toledo on when they were one of the grant presentations that we received. So very nice photos. Treasury report for October 31st, cash balances totaled $6.7 million in the bank, again spread throughout a lot of the different banks. Been working in the last month to 6 weeks on moving some money, getting the rates obviously in the real world are up. So we've been moving to conversation with Rockland Trust about increasing our rates on our money market accounts, and gone through Abington Bank, Coastal Heritage, and Rockland Credit Union, and we bumped the rates up on all that. So we're looking to get a substantial amount of interest coming through. They're averaging about 3%. So with all the savings accounts, if we get 3%, it's going to be a nice little $35,000 to $40,000 surplus that usually falls to the bottom line. This is We don't usually budget investment income, so it just gives us some spending power at the end of the year. The revenue for the month, the one straggler was Hanson. Hanson's check was received. I think I mentioned that last month when we met. It was received the 1st of October, so that's been recorded along with our regular Chapter 70 money from the state. So total income for the month is $595,000. We have done, on November 1st, we did the billing for all of the second installment of billing for our member towns. And we also billed out all the non-resident tuition. It's going to be much lower this year than we have in prior years, obviously, based upon the way that the last few cycles of incoming freshmen have been mainly from the district. We don't have a lot of outstanding out of district students anymore, so the numbers will be down a little bit. But again, whatever we collect this year will be applied towards next year's budgetary cycle. So we have expended amounts on the next page for all of our expenditures. And obviously, the payroll, $723,000 is the largest. Not a lot of other items to worry about. The supplies and the equipment. Again, as the teachers are continuing to purchase things for their shops and so forth, it's going along well, and everything seems to be pretty much on target. And that's the treasury report.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Hanover, second Abington. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? This is a vote. Warrants, Mr. Cutroselli.
Warrants 7, 7A, 8, and 8A totaling $1,104,733.64.
Any discussion on that? Motion Situate. Second Hanson. All those in favor? That is a vote. Any other updates, Jim?
No, we're good.
Okay. Chairman has no comments this evening. Superintendent Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few updates for you, members of the committee. The window project is moving along. The front panels along this side and in the front are being installed. They're working on a punch list. So hopefully things will be wrapping up soon. They've had a steady crew here working on the front. I'll be getting a more detailed update from our project manager soon, but we're nearing the end of that project to close that out. MSBA update. As you might recall from last month, I said we were in Module 2, and so we have sent along to MSBA all of the necessary documentation from the feasibility study agreement that you voted last month, the minutes that we have to show a record of the minutes that included the motions for those actions. And so now the next step is waiting for MSBA to give feedback on the procurement documents when we go out looking for an OPM. I would like to be able to stay on as aggressive a timeline as possible. It won't be the end of the world if we don't, but I submitted documents early enough in the hopes that they could give us feedback this month and we could go out on the street, put it out to bid, if you will, in December. I may be calling upon you, I can't push them much further, but if they were to get back to us with some feedback in a timely fashion, then I might ask your indulgence to join on a remote meeting somewhere between tonight and our next meeting is not until December 21st. So if I could get a meeting simply to take the procedural votes for advertising and the procedural vote to actually agree to the documents that we're putting out there, then we can move it forward. If that doesn't happen, things would simply be delayed 1 month and we would go out on the street in January. But if we can avoid it, to the extent we can control it, I'd like to be able to do that. It just buys us a month and that can add up over time. Otherwise, we're just awaiting more information from MSBA on the request for services document. Next item is the regional agreement update. So I thank the members of the regional planning subcommittee, and I thank them in advance for needing to take up some of their time in the near future. What I can tell the members of the full committee is that the feedback that I'm getting from Marshfield's representatives that they are supportive of a framework that would allow them to join the district. This is a layered approach. It's not something that, it is something that I think we can move along at a reasonable pace, but there are several things we have to do. First, we have to get back from the Department of Education in Malden, their feedback on our regional agreement. I would say that's 90% done. And I'm going to have a meeting with the Regional Planning Subcommittee early next week to go over the feedback to date. If the Department of Education says, yep, we like how this looks, we like what you're putting in there for Marshfield, it's legally fine, the next step will be for us to then bring this in two ways. Bring it back to our subcommittee for them to look at it, because ultimately they'll bring a recommendation to this full committee. But at the same time, I want to put it in the hands of KP Law, the law firm that we retained last month. I want them to also take a look at it as well. If KP Law or if members of the subcommittee have concerns, I want to try to reconcile those concerns, and then ultimately would have the subcommittee recommend an amended regional agreement. And if there are any significant changes, I would end up, as you can imagine, I would loop back in the Department of Education so that they know we moved a semicolon or we did something else. Where does this all lead? It would lead to, the best case scenario is that on or before our December meeting, maybe I can dovetail something with the OPM and have you, again, maybe a remote agenda between now and our December meeting, would be to get the full committee to essentially take action on this. To take action means that you would vote to put forth an amendment to our regional agreement. And that amendment would include the terms and conditions for Marshfield's entry and any other legalese that is being recommended to us that should be changed since the last time we did this, which was only in 2018. So there are again several things that have to happen. Jack, what I'm going to do is I'll reach out to Situate, because Situate's town meeting, Abington and Situate both are scheduled to have town meetings in April. Situate has a very aggressive timeline for warrant articles.
Right.
And so what I will at least do, if what I'm saying is too fast a timeline, I'll at least reach out to Situate and ask them to go through a process for whatever a placeholder is involved. But I've telegraphed to them for a few times that, hey, something's coming. We're going to want to be on your town meeting warrant. I just don't want the door to shut and then have to ask their select board to reopen the warrant.
Right.
But if I can get a placeholder in there and say, hey, we might need to wait until after the Christmas holiday to get it finalized. They go to, I think they go, their timeline suggests they go to print in January for something that's in April. But in any event, I don't want to be the reason that something gets held up, but we can only move so far. So for members of this committee who are not on the regional planning subcommittee, I would intend to go through the entire regional agreement, and I'll send you information in advance showing you all the tweaks. And I'm happy to say that my agenda has been, if it has to be changed, of course we're going to change it. But I'm not interested in adding a lot of housekeeping changes, because all that's going to do is add to the energy it takes to, oh, you've got 33 changes. Let's go over all of them. And really the whole reason we're talking about this is because of expanding the district. So I think we're going to have 2 or 3 changes plus terms and conditions from Marshfield. And like I said, I'll be able to get that information out to the full committee as soon as possible with a few other parties involved. Can I answer, Mr. Chair, just if I could put on my pause here, can I answer any questions on that regional piece at this point? Okay. Yeah, again,
But Tom, on that regional agreement, if you want to give me a shout, I've come to an agreement with me that,
you're unanimous?
that some of those that the state had recommended,
Yeah.
I'm in favor of now that I was opposed before.
Good.
And I had to go back to our original agreement back in *62 to answer my question. So
we'll thank you, Bob. We'll take it from the
have
top.
those prepared for the meeting next week.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can definitely do
Just to
that.
put things in perspective, in 62, I was in the 4th grade.
Let the record show.
Let the record reflect.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll turn it over to Mark and Sandy for administrator reports.
Yes.
I'm going to just follow up on a couple of items that Mr. Herculini mentioned, and then give you a couple more. I want to focus first on Thanksgiving football. I know Mr. Ercolini mentioned that we were nominating or acknowledging the 2002 Super Bowl champs. This is the 20th anniversary, obviously. We have 3 Super Bowls within 4 or 5 years, so thought it'd be nice, an opportunity to bring some of these past graduates back. Some of them already have students in the building, so it's kind of a little kind of deal. I do have to thank Mr. Mahoney. The entire coaching staff from that team is also going to be here, but he was one of the members of the coaching staff, and he was also able to get in touch with the 1/5 member that I could not seem to get a hold of. So thank you, Mr. Mahoney, for that. So on Thanksgiving Eve at 4:45, we'll do the senior moments with the parents, the flowers, the pictures, all that kind of stuff. Kickoff will be at 5 o'clock, and at halftime, we'll have the ceremony, and we'll invite any of the 2002 players and coaches out on the field to be acknowledged. Working with the Alumni Association, I think we're going to have a pretty good number of people from that team who are going to show up. So we'll see. Right now, I looked at the weather tonight, 7th-day forecast is just like it is outside right now. So I think it'll be good playing weather, not raining, things like that. So I'm really hopeful for that event. I'm also hopeful for that event to be able to tie up something else. I started way back in September with the Hall of Fame ceremony and building on that. We have 8 very strong candidates for induction, but what I'm having trouble getting is people to be on the committee to actually vet them. I'm not looking at you, but to vet them out. So I'm hoping to be able to grab some of those alumni that are here on Wednesday night to be able to fill out that, and then we'll bring that to fruition, and we'll do some kind of ceremony late spring, maybe March, somewhere in there. Once again, we'll do something on a Saturday, a little breakfast, a little ceremony, and be able to add those to our board in the main hallway. We missed in Mr. Ercolini's speech, but Mr. Mahoney, of course, doesn't forget anything. He remembered our FFA group out of horticulture went to the national competition earlier this month. It's a little weird. They do the state competition in the spring, but the national competition is not till the fall, so that all these people who live in the states that are harvesting can take care of their harvest, and so they have this event after the harvest season. So we actually had 2 graduating seniors, 2 graduating students that went, and 2 seniors that went. So we had one student earned a silver, and the other 3 all earned bronze. And the entire team together earned a bronze medal. Now, this is the 6th year of the program, so this is monumental. Cassie Johnson, who's one of the horticulture instructors, went out there with Mr. TJ Petrozelli, who was our male chaperone. So they got to get the lay of the land and understand how everything works. It's always nice to be able to do it the first time and know, okay, this is where we parked it and this is how this event works. So they were able to do all that and have a good time and get back here to make sure that they're on time. I have to thank Mr. Coughlin and his crew for helping us with transportation and making sure that we had all the money in the right places and we were able to meet all their needs. So thank you to the business office for having that also. Finally, I want to mention the Cosmo department is doing a holiday gathering on Saturday, December 3rd. They're going to do some face painting with little kids. They're going to have the big guy Santa showing up. So they're going to do that on Saturday morning from about 9 to 11 in the school cafeteria. But Ms. Darling, who was the department head, and Ms. Storm Prophet, Ms. Donahoe are all going to be here with their students to do some crafts, do some face painting, things like that, just for the younger kids to kind of bring in the season. We're going to do that on December 2nd. We will also be at the Rockland Stroll on the 26th. That's a Saturday after Thanksgiving. We'll actually have 2 locations. Once again, the cosmetology department will be outside of, the name escapes me, but there is a salon on Main Street in Rockland. They're going to have a spot right outside that. They're actually going to use the salon. They have an agreement from the owner to be able to step inside and do some stuff in there. And then we're also going to bring our food truck, location to be determined still, but we're promised a prime location. We're going to bring our food truck. We're going to be doing, giving out some food and things like that to people who are there. I will be there, partially working and partially enjoying the food. So hope everybody else can make it. Any questions on my report? Yes,
Yeah,
Mark.
and the Hall of Fame, Mike, is that academics or is that just strictly athletic?
Oh, no, it's academics and athletics. So we do have, if my recollection is right, we have 3 or 4 from the athletic side, and we have 3 or 4 from the academic. We have somebody who is strong in developing our drama program that is nominated. And so there's other things, not just the educational part, but what they've done for the culture of the building, that type of thing. Any other questions?
No, that's it.
What
Thank
time
you.
was the cosmetology at the
9 o'clock,
9 o'clock?
9 o'clock.
Holiday stroll is 4 o'clock.
4 to 7 on the holiday stroll. Thank you, Mr. Mahoney. That's the Saturday afterward, yes. I don't have the weather report for that day. I'm not that good. Okay. Just honor,
Good evening. Our report is brief this evening and focused exclusively on professional development. Equity is our theme of professional development, and I'm grateful to your approval of the schedule that allows us to have a faculty meeting in the afternoon on a Tuesday, followed by a 2-hour delay on the Wednesday, allowing us a pretty good chunk of very focused time to allow the theme of equity to be examined from really 3 points of view this year. We are focusing specifically on differentiating our instruction, grading for equity, and developing our cultural proficiency. And since we last met, we worked on inclusive teaching practices with Kelly Mertens, and we had our mandatory training on Title IX, hosted by our in-house counsel, hosted by our counsel, Justin Gomes. Today, hosted by assessment specialist John Scapoletti. We had a 2-hour delay, and the sessions for the series of sessions hosted by our teacher leaders and on reimagining grading, the practices that they are piloting in their classes that are unique to equitable grading practices. And I wanted to give a quick shout out to those teacher leaders who led the sessions this morning. English and special ed teacher Joanne Desmaris, graphic digital design teacher Carolyn Rakowski, social studies teachers Tammy Glass, cosmetology teacher Kate Darling, electrical teacher Eddie Carl, special ed and math teacher Minnie Clark, social studies teacher Greg Davis, and science teacher Greg Stevens. That gives you a sense of the variety of teachers who are investing their time and professional energies into rethinking grading in a way that is the most equitable for our students. So today they share their practices with the remainder of the faculty, and from all accounts, they have a good informative sessions that caused some pretty good hallway conversation afterwards. That's always my litmus test on whether it's a good professional development or not, is the hallway conversation afterwards, and by all accounts, it was a good session. Next month, we'll continue our focus on reimagining grading with a focus on some important decision-making, considering the elimination of the 0 from a rank book and considering the move away from a 100-point scale. So some big decisions and important outcomes to follow. That's it for me.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just a couple other quick points. I want to thank the culinary department and our administrative team for putting on a very well-attended fall advisory meeting this month. It gave me the opportunity to share our good MSBA news with advisors, saying that this district will be calling upon our industry experts to help us vision what comes next for this school building. And I think that there's a very ready and willing crowd to help out with that. And secondly, I want to let you know that on Saturday, coming up the 19th, we'll be hosting that Chapter 70 informational session that we offered to our member towns. I'm happy to say that nearly all of your respective towns will be represented. There'll probably be maybe 10 people ranging from K-12 superintendents, finance committee members, a town administrator, school committee members from the K-12 districts. These are all folks, and we're offering them an opportunity to talk to an expert about how the Chapter 70 formula works, what he thinks is coming up, and what makes these numbers change the way that they do. So I'm looking forward to that. That's running from 9 to 11 on Saturday, and would like to be able to offer that as a service to our towns in the future as well. Okay, the calendar is now full, and back to you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Very good. Moving on to new business, we have a donation. We have packet number 4 in your, document 4 in your packet there from Napoleon Jarrows, the customer service manager at Simmons Industries in Braintree, has donated materials valued at over $4,000 to the HVAC and plumbing program. The donation includes shower valves and trims and laboratory faucets. This donation will help us continue to expand the plumbing shop while building a strong relationship with local plumbing product manufacturers. What's this?
I'll make the motion, we accept both donations.
Motion Situate. Second, Hanover. Okay, all those in favor? The vote. Okay, yeah. Okay, the other one was, I'll just read it just for the record. This one here is for horticulture construction donation. Derek Stearns, manager of marketing, sales, and design of Plymouth Quarries in Hingham, along with their vendors, Unilock, Cambridge Pavers, and Ideal Pavers recently delivered $4,000 worth of brand new pavers products to help expand the horticulture and landscaping construction programs and masonry curriculum. And that was already motioned by.
Oh, you did both
Yeah,
together.
I just read it for the, just for the
No
record,
problem.
so, sorry, it was already voted on. And then we have, and the business also, document 5, we have an out-of-state field trip. Going to New York, and it's, what's the date? The date is March 6th and 7th. Okay. Chaperones of John Ho for the beauty salon, also Treatment Cosmetology that's submitting this. What's the vote? I'll entertain a motion.
I have a little concern about going to New York, though.
Have they done this before? Going to New York?
They have, they've been a bit snake bit, one in the, I was asking the department head, I feel like it's been canceled a few times. It was canceled for COVID once, and it was canceled for very bad weather once in the last few years.
But they've been to it, they've been through it, they know what they're doing.
They have.
I'll make the motion. Yes.
Okay, motion Hanson, second and Abington. All those in favor?
Aye.
That is a vote. You opposed?
No, I voted yes.
Okay, unanimous vote. Okay.
My own personal concern. Watching the news, I don't know.
Wait a minute, I think that's all we have for new business. Move on, anybody have any requests for action? This time here, I'll turn to a senior member and ask him to fill in for Mr. Salvucci.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
So disappointed.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Second, all those in favor? We are adjourned.